Okay, welcome to the new week, 16th to 20th of June 2025. It's great to have you here again today, whichever part of the world you're joining us from. Welcome, Salbona, Mambo, Ekabo. It's great to have you here. So, um, it's a new week with many opportunities. As always, I'm Atomashi Daniel, Vest Traders Global Market Analyst. This week, we have many opportunities, especially from the big banks, the apex banks. We have policy reports back to back from four major banks, um, the UK, the US, Switzerland, and Japan. Okay, interest rates are going to be decided this week, and the economic policies of these countries are also going to be released and decided this week. Therefore, be on the lookout because it looks like we're going to be having hugely volatile markets back to back. All right. Um, so let's go on with our analysis. Fundamental analysis first. The pairs we're looking at this week include the NZD USD, the AUD USD, the USD JPY, okay, and Bitcoin is also Ethereum, ladies and gentlemen. Now, what do we have for today? Today, Monday, looks like a technicals day, okay. No high impact news expected from the economic calendar. And we have the Bank of Japan's policy rate and monetary policy statements tomorrow, Tuesday. As I said, Apex Bank's week. Um, we also have the US retail and core retail sales data for May 2025. That's going to be released also on Tuesday. Now, let's look at the outlook for the Bank of Japan. What do we expect the Bank of Japan to do? It's expected that it's going to keep rates steady. It's been doing that for a while now. So it's expected to keep rates steady. If it does that, good for the Japanese economy. And the monetary policy statement or the press conference is what's going to perhaps move the markets. Okay. Hawkish comments from the head of the Bank of Japan, Governor Ueda, may perhaps strengthen the yen against other pairs temporarily at the time or in the long term. Perhaps also um, comments that do not favor the yen definitely is going to weaken the Japanese yen across board. But this guy is always fond of saying, making comments that tends to favor the yen. So be on the lookout for that. Um, so the U.S. unemployment claims data again. This is quite important because for the past 3 weeks straight, we've had poor jobless claims, cyclical poor jobless claims from the US. This is the fourth one consecutively now. If it's bad, yet again, doesn't bode well for the US economy. We could have weakening of the US dollar across board. So you want to pay attention to that. Okay. Um, the US federal funds rate, yes, going to be released on Wednesday. Monetary policy statement, the expectations from the US Federal Reserve Bank is that it's going to perhaps leave rates steady, okay, considering the outlook with the jobs report and inflation is not so bad. So it might leave it steady for now, but let's see how it goes, how it plays out. No one knows for certain. Um, all right. Next, we have the New Zealand's GDP data. Of course, because we're looking at the Kiwi NZD USD this week, you want to pay attention to that significantly. Australia's jobs report also. These are data that could move the market, especially within the Asian session. Now, Governor Ueda speaks. He's due to speak in an event on Friday. Of course, again, as I said, hawkish comments from this guy might boost the yen. So pay attention to this guy, to that event. Now, as always, Trump's corporate tax cuts, moving up the ladder, getting approvals from Congress could also strengthen the US dollar. Pay attention to that. And then recently, attacks from between Israel and Iran. Okay, if we see more escalations of these attacks, then we could see more safe haven buying of gold, the yen, and the US dollar because these three assets, are safe haven currencies or safe haven assets, especially during extreme times of crisis like this. So pay attention to that. Now, for Bitcoin and Ethereum, global uncertainties, crises like this, when we have Israel-Iran war, Israel-Iran attacks, and tariff war escalations in the US, okay, could increase volume of transactions. So traders could look for assets that are not seriously impacted by the fundamentals of the events, so as to be able to make some good money from it. So we could see some significant volumes both on the buying and selling end of crypto. So that's that for fundamental analysis. For the charts, let's go into the charts now. There you go. Let's start out with the Kiwi, NZD-USD. What do we see on this guy? So we know that it's been moving very nicely along an ascending channel, right? It hit the support button of the channel and then shot straight up, right? Um, but we see that there's still some sort of negative divergence right here on this guy. Some nice negative divergence. Okay. If you connect the lows on price and the lows on the RSI, is showing that we have negative divergence. We should expect that from the NZD USD. But then again, on the same 4-hour chart, we see that it hasn't really gone below the 200-day moving average since April 2025. Okay. So let's see what happens this period. Now, for me, my key resistance and support area is centered around 0.5993. That's 0.6000 psychological level right here. And the key resistance level, that's for key support. Key resistance, I put it at 0.6058, ladies and gentlemen. Key resistance level. However, price is currently playing around a strong order block level right here, as can be seen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, it's playing around it with no convincing clear break above or below it yet. So if price breaks below our key support point of 0.5993, then I'll sell 0.5967, below that 5949, below that 5920. Now, on the flip side, if price heads above 0.6058, then I'll consider buying to 6070, above that 6084, and above that 6100. My outlook on this guy, because it's on the support button of the channel right now, I'm trying to touch upon higher levels. And because it's been strongly bullish for time past, I favor bullish positions, but I'm open to short-term bearish ones, okay, on this pair. All right, now let's go to the Aussie. Let's go to the Aussie. Now, the Aussie, we also see negative divergence, okay, uptrend on price on the same highs on RSI, downtrend. That's negative divergence. We see price moving very nicely along an ascending channel, just like the Kiwi. Price touched the support border and seemed to be testing higher levels. All right. For me, if price is able to touch upon the lower border of the channel, that's the green lines right there. You see the lower border here, the upper border of the channel right here. If price is able to touch upon the lower border and break below 6454, then my next target level will be 0.6420. Below that, 6393. Below that, 6366. And below that, perhaps 6325. On the flip side, if it's able to head above 6537, then my next target level will be 6567. Above that will be 6600 psychological level on the Aussie. That's for the Aussie. Next, let's go to the yen, USD JPY. As always, on the weekly chart, we know it's moving very nicely along an ascending channel, and it's currently very nicely placed around the support border, telling us to tread carefully for possible reversals or strong continuations, significant continuations right here. But it seems to have formed a range, okay, moving nicely within the range between 14600 psychological level and 142.40, okay, as can be seen right there. Now, for me, my key resistance region area is placed at 145.00 psychological level. Okay. However, if price is able to break past 144.74, its current significant swing high because of that price rejection right there, then my next most likely target could be 145.00. If it breaks above that, then my next most likely target will be 145.27. Above that, 145.51. Above that, 145.85 or 145 146.00. Okay. On the flip side, if it breaks below 143.98 or 144.00 psychological level, then my next target level will be 143.84, below that 143.67, below that 143.51, and below that 143.38. Okay. If it happens to go below 143.28. So do not rule out the possibilities of having significant moves this week because the BOJ policy rate is going to be out. Now we have UADA speaking also. Plus we have federal funds rates for the US dollar, for the US economy, some significant events. So we could see some huge volatility or huge volumes in the market around this period. Now, Ethereum. So Ethereum, of course, has formed a nice range, has refused to break past the 200-day moving average on the daily chart, as can be seen right there. Now, my key support region is placed at 2447.2. Below that, 2360.0. Below that, 2287.9. And below that, 2212.0. Meaning if price breaks below 24427.2, then I'll target these lower levels. If it breaks above 2637.0, our next target level will be 2769, 2766.0, and above that, 2853.3. That's for Ethereum. My outlook on this guy, because of the way it's shaped, I'm bullish. Okay, but because of the significant price rejection right here, from four different reversal signs placed very nicely beside each other, two hammers, two dojis, another inverted hammer right here. I'm open to short-term bullish positions, and I'm consider major short-term bearish positions. I'm open to short-term bearish ones, but I consider major bullish ones if a break of this high happens right here, 2853.3. Okay, so I favor short-term bullish and short-term bearish on Ethereum. All right. However, again, because of its current patterns, all right, I'm still open to the bullish scenario in line with Bitcoin. So, Bitcoin, the almighty Bitcoin, what has this guy been doing? Simple. It seems to be struggling to break past 110, the 110 range. It's struggling and playing around it significantly. Okay. So, if price breaks past 110,419, my next most likely target will be 112,328.8. If it goes above that, 114065.0, and above that, 115521.6. Okay. But if it happens to break below key support region 102,866.7, then my most likely target will be 100,783. Okay. This guy right here, 0.3. Below that, 98960.3, and below that, 96963.7. My take on this guy, short-term bullish, short-term bearish positions. There's no clear break of significant swing highs or significant swing lows or major resistance or support points on this crypto. My outlook on the yen, of course, bearish. I favor bearish positions, but I'm open to bullish ones at a break of key resistance level for the USD JPY. The Aussie, I favor bullish positions unless I see a break of key support level on the AUD USD. All right. Let's see whether we could have some short-term opportunities right here. Not really, no major short-term opportunities on Bitcoin. Okay. So that's that, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, sorry, I just found one more. If price breaks below the range here of 104402, consider selling on scalping moves for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is always very nice for scalping. Consider selling on scalping moves too. 104029 or below that to 103383 on scalping or intraday positions. That's for the weekly outlook this week. Thank you for joining, ladies and gentlemen. I'll see you again next week. Have a good and blissful trading week. Bye bye.